stairs and hop on an elevator, you could be taking a step in the wrong direction.
It was the most petrifying and most terrifying moment that I've ever had in my whole entire life.
It's a night team special report. Risky ride.
You might be surprised to hear this. There is a good chance the elevators you ride in South Florida are not safe.
In fact, thousands are operating illegally or can't pass inspection. One man found that out the hard way. Here's investigative reporter Patrick Frazier.
When you step into an elevator, most people look at this. Instead, you might want to look at this, the certificate that shows that the elevator is operating legally.
It was the most petrifying and most terrifying moment that I've ever had in my whole entire life.
A few weeks ago, Ziv Tamir stepped into an elevator in downtown Miami.
Once the door closed, the elevator plunged down.
From the 15th floor, flying down, floor after floor after floor.
Every couple of seconds, maybe, there would feel like as if the elevator's trying to catch onto something, and it wasn't able to, and it would fall down even faster.
After racing past 10 floors, the elevator slammed to a sudden stop.
I realized that my body was in tremendous pain that I never experienced before in my entire life.
The certificate of operation in the elevator had expired in 2008. Technically, it was operating illegally. An elevator falling 10 floors, that's very unusual. But an elevator failing inspections, operating illegally, very common in South Florida. A few weeks ago, we started checking elevators and were stunned by the number with expired certificates. Take a look at this one. It last passed inspection in 2004.
And now it's been inspected, but it still has over 8 violations.
This elevator at Century Village does not have a current certificate. When it breaks down, Robert Labby says it leaves elderly people stranded.
And when you're walking with a walker and you're in your 80s or 70s, in other words, it's not really good to walk from the 3rd or 4th floor down here.
From South Dade to North Broward, there are more than 19,000 elevators, and it seemed everywhere we checked, the certificates had expired. From Jackson Memorial Hospital, where these elevators have been operating illegally since July 2009, to this office complex in Broward, where Sandra says the elevators are a wreck.
On one of them, the ringer is broken. The buzzer to alarm people if you get stuck in there was broken. The doors also, they close on you. They don't, sensor doesn't block it.
And the elevator is technically in violation of code.
Mike Chavez is the chief elevator inspector for Miami-Dade County.
The code requires that the elevator have a certificate of operation. Technically, the owner should not be operating it without a current certificate.
State law requires the owner of the building to hire private companies to maintain and inspect their elevators.
These charts up here are the maintenance charts, and they have to fill these out.
A county inspector like Tom Filteau then checks the elevator from the top to the bottom to make sure the owners and private inspectors are getting it done.
You just always have to be careful.
If the elevator checks out, a certificate is issued.
It needs to be inspected and it needs to have a current certificate.
35% of the elevators in Miami-Dade and 40% of the elevators in Broward County do not have valid certificates, meaning 7,000 elevators in South Florida have not passed inspection. If you walk into a condo or office complex, odds are you're riding in one of those elevators.
There's a lot of buildings here that have elevator problems.
Miami-Dade County is going to go after the condo and building owners that are operating their elevators illegally. And Chavez hopes the people who ride the elevators will demand inspections as well.
I want them to go to their building manager and ask them why it's not current. And if they don't get a satisfactory answer, they should demand one.
The elevator may have failed inspections for a simple reason, or maybe it wasn't a simple reason.
I felt like I was going to die.
Ziv's elevator had not passed inspection. If someone had not pulled the emergency stop button, he might not have lived to tell us about it.
The only thing I could think about was my wife and my future baby, thinking that I won't be able to see it.
Ziv is lucky. He survived his risky ride. The next person may not. I'm Patrick Frazier, 7 News.
It's a government program to get families into foreclosed homes, but time is running out.
We're going to do everything humanly possible to have it spent by them.
Tonight, in a night team's special report, why officials have to use it or lose it.
Yeah, this plan gives local governments money to buy and resell homes. It got into gear last year, but there's only 6 months left to spend that money. Yolanda Dukes wants to buy a house. Problem is, she's a single mom with 2 kids and doesn't have a lot of money.
First of all, can I purchase a home, you know, being a single parent?
Until now, probably not. Then she heard about a new federal program that buys foreclosed homes in Dade and Broward and sells them at a low cost to people just like her.
I went down there to inquire about it.
She inquired about getting into a home, but like many South Floridians who heard the promises, she's waiting and waiting.
There are pockets of success and there are pockets of failure or non-activity.
Armando Fana runs the Miami office for the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD.
Certainly it got up to a fairly slow start, as government programs tend to do.
Slow indeed. Nearly a year ago, HUD gave cities and counties in South Florida $157 million to buy up foreclosed properties, fix them up, and sell them to low to moderate income families. So far, the local government agencies have only spent around $15 million.
It's been a lot slower than I thought it would be.
The spending has been very slow in Homestead, where the foreclosure rate is so high that the federal government gave the city nearly $2.9 million to buy the empty properties. The city spent $235,000 to set up the program and has only bought 5 houses.
It's a little bit frustrating. I really expected the program to be much further along than we are right now.
And Homestead is not the only city that's having trouble spending money. According to HUD records, Miami-Dade County got $62 million, but has only spent $2.3 million. Broward County got about $17 million, but has only spent $2.7 million.
You have cities like the city of Plantation that is obligated 100% of their funding. And then you have others that really are under that 30% threshold, and those are the ones we're worried about.
The reason for the worry, if South Florida cities and counties don't spend the money this year, they lose it. It goes back to the feds. So what's stopping them from buying up these homes and cleaning up neighborhoods? The people who run the program say the federal guidelines are just too strict. Local governments can only buy homes that have already been foreclosed on, and they have to sell it at a price under the appraised value. Finding houses like that is not easy, so the money just sits there.
We're throwing money at problems that we're not necessarily even solving.
Steve Ellis of Taxpayers for Common Sense says this is a classic example of the feds throwing cash at cities and counties that have no idea how to spend the money.
And it's a challenge for these communities that have been trying to ramp up this program, that now they know that they have a deadline, that they have to spend the money.
But some cities have figured it out, have found ways to get people into homes.
It's great having my own home.
Tamarack is being applauded by HUD for being able to spend their money.
This is the kitchen.
They found this home for Jennifer, fixed it up, and sold it to her.
I'm grateful that I have a home.
And Yolanda has reason to hope now, too. North Miami recently found a foreclosed property and is fixing it up for her.
I'm very happy about it, but you have to be patient.
But will other families be so lucky? If South Florida agencies don't figure it out quickly, empty homes sitting in foreclosure will continue to ruin neighborhoods, while the cash to buy them flows back to Washington, something HUD officials hope to avoid.
I don't want any of this funding to go back to Washington. It needs to stay here in South Florida where it's desperately needed.
And with that in mind, HUD now plans to step up and help local governments run the programs to make sure they use the money and not lose it.
Also here on 7, dreams of living on a golf course crashing down when golfers start hitting home. So who has to pay for the damage?
Well, an homeowner insists not her, so she's calling Help Me Howard with Patrick Frazier.
There are millions of people who love to play golf, but there are very few people who are great at playing golf. Lori Landgreve's front yard is proof of that.
This is a golf ball that was probably hit sometime yesterday. Here we have another. We have another one, and we also have some on the roof.
Lori lives on Alton Road across from the Miami Beach Golf Club, a city-owned course. Each week, she says, 5 to 10 golf balls fly into her yard.
I think we're the 19th hole here.
But Lori is not laughing anymore. In June, a golfer broke the rear window of her car. She paid to fix it. In July, another wild golfer again broke the window.
The fact that a ball could have reached our yard at the velocity and the strength to break a window was shocking.
The shattered windshields are just the latest golf ball damage. A bad golfer hit her house.
Nice little crack in the window.
And golfers who should probably be playing at a putt-putt course have put dents in her car.
We're kind of right in the line of fire here.
So Lori met with the head of the golf course to try to get them to pay the $1,623 for the 2-car windows. He was polite, sympathetic, and then he said, "We aren't paying for the damage."
The course had no liability as it related to damage resulting from the course, but that the golfer himself would be liable.
Of course, getting golfers who bust car windows to put down their clubs and stroll over with their checkbooks doesn't happen in the real world. And being told by the city it's not our problem really disappointed Lori.
I just felt that the reaction and the lack of responsibility the city and the course and the city was taking was surprising to me.
Lori says the city should redo the 8th tee where the balls come flying from, or find a way to block the wild shots from bouncing onto Alton and the neighborhood before.
There's no question that something will happen again, maybe not to this extent, maybe worse.
Lori blames the golf course for the damage. The course points the finger at the golfers. So Howard, want to pull out a law book and stop the buck passing?
The golfers are not responsible, but the course can be if they know that a lot of golf balls are flying off the course at a particular hole and do nothing to fix it.
When we called the city, a spokesperson said Lori did not formally fill out a claim form. Lori thought meeting with the head of the golf course made her claim clear to the city. She then put her claim in writing. A spokesperson for the city did tell us since the golf club opened in 2002, this is only the second complaint they've received from a resident on Alton Road. The city also told us they're thinking about putting up palms along Alton Road to block a few more golf balls. Howard says that could be a smart move.
Let's say a person or a car gets hit. The city can argue they put up the trees to protect people, and that might help them win a lawsuit.
Lori is waiting to hear if the city will pay for the damage, but after battling them, she's not getting too hopeful.
Since I really haven't heard anything, I don't have a no that they're not going to do this. I've had a probably not. I haven't had an official no.
And why aren't the golfers responsible if they damage someone's property? Well, according to the law, hitting a bad shot is part of the game and is not considered negligence. Now, if some golfer has too many beers and wants to see how many moving cars he can hit with a bag of golf balls, that's intentional and they have to pay for the damage. But a golfer would never do that. The balls are too expensive. Lately, your life filled with bogeys, ready to iron out the problems? Swing over to us. You don't need a birdie to tell you. Of course, we will have an answer for you. With this Help Me Howard, I'm Patrick Frazier, 7 News.